Exclusive safari experiences, private concessions in Africa. There's a certain image that comes to mind when one thinks of a safari in Africa. Things like open vehicle 4x4s, bumping along dirt tracks, herds of giraffe, munching on an acacia tree just as the sun sets, and impromptu leopard sightings, halting a line of vehicles, which then proceed to just about completely block the road. All of these experiences are a rite of passage for many first-time visitors, and they give them a peek into Africa's famed beauty. But not all travelers are the same. Some want something more selective, more refined, and far less crowded. After all, here in Africa, there's a different way to experience the wild and all of its delights. Private safari concessions in Africa are like an insider's safari. Far from the queue of vehicles and park gate restrictions, these exclusive pockets of wilderness rewrite the rules on what a safari can be. And they are just the sort of experience for any traveler who has done all of the conventional trips and now yearns for something completely different. What are private safari concessions? Private safari concessions in Africa are essentially leased tracts of land, often bordering or within national parks. They are not managed by public institutions and are instead run by trusted safari operators, community trusts, or old family establishments, but under the same strict conservation guidelines that govern public parks. In a nutshell, private safari concessions in Africa are not government-owned public reserves. Instead, they're privately managed through long-term partnerships with local communities or wildlife authorities, giving travelers a more curated and controlled experience. But don't mistake controlled for staged. In such settings, you can have off-road driving, unique night drives, as well as walking safaris with highly trained guides. All of these options are an accessible daily reality. What is a private concession in Kruger National Park? The Kruger is one of Africa's most spoken of and best-known safari destinations, attracting nearly 1 million visitors a year. If you're picturing traffic jams around a pride of lions or picnic sites, brimming with busloads of tourists, and the thought of having such an experience leaves you cold, well, that's just the public side of the Kruger. The western boundary of the park is home to a string of private reserves with Sabi Sand, Timbavai, Klaseri, and Manyeleti, among others, forming part of what is known as the Greater Kruger ecosystem. These are not fenced off from the Kruger. Instead, the wildlife moves freely between them. The difference is that they are governed differently. Each of the private safari concessions in Africa is independently run by select safari lodges, trusts, and private owners, and they are often renowned for pioneering sustainable tourism models that prioritize both guest experience and wildlife conservation. When staying in such a place, just a handful of vehicles are allowed per sighting, and it is not uncommon to stop under a baobab tree for a G&T without a single soul in sight. What are the benefits of choosing a private concession for a safari? Many wonder why they should trade the well-trodden routes of national parks for private safari concessions in Africa. And if you've done the typical safari in a public park and want to try something unique, there are many benefits to traveling in a private concession that you can look forward to, such as exclusivity. Lodges in private safari concessions in Africa limit the number of guests. This ensures fewer vehicles, quieter sightings, and personalized attention, both while at the lodge and when out on safari. Highly skilled guides. These areas attract top-tier guiding talent. When on safari in such places, you can expect deeply knowledgeable rangers and trackers who are experts in reading animal behavior, not just spotting wildlife from afar. Custom experiences. Many concessions cater to individual preferences, such as birding, photography, or cultural trips. Not all safaris are about ticking off the big five. There's always more to do than a game drive. Eco-luxury accommodation. Who wouldn't be completely relaxed with plunge pools overlooking a hippo-filled waterhole and open-air suites where you can quite literally hear the lions roaring throughout the night? These lodges perfectly balance eco-friendly with world-class hospitality. This is safari stripped of the crowds and noise. It's safari made easy and intimate. Which countries offer the best private safari concessions? These are our top picks. South Africa. The Greater Kruger region has led the way in concession-based safaris, not just in South Africa, but for the whole continent. Sabi Sand is the pioneer of it all, and it is home to some of the most trusted and exclusive lodges on the continent, including Singita and Londolozi. Botswana. Botswana is the poster child for low-volume, high-value tourism. In the Okavango Delta, concessions like Vumbura and Chitabe are massive in scale, but host only a handful of guests each year. If you travel here, you can expect to have elephant herds to yourself and uninterrupted leopard sightings. Namibia. Namibia's concessions are primarily in the north and on the coast, places like Damaraland and the Skeleton Coast. These intimidating landscapes are not for everyone, but for the selective traveler, they are some of the most raw and photogenic places in Africa. Zimbabwe. Gonarajo and Malilangwe are two prime private concessions, while Hwange National Park is an intimate concession around the eastern border, which allows for private walking safaris and exclusive lodge stays. How do private concessions contribute to conservation efforts? It's easy to view private safari concessions in Africa as a playground for the wealthy. But if you look deeper, you'll see that they're often the very lifeblood of conservation across the continent. Private concessions contribute to conservation efforts through financial investment. Tourism revenue from concessions is mostly reinvested directly into anti-poaching initiatives, habitat restoration, and wildlife monitoring. Community partnerships. Concession agreements often include land lease payments and employment opportunities for surrounding communities. This shared stewardship helps create local buy-in for conservation. Low-impact tourism. With a less is more mindset, concessions keep traveler numbers low, thus reducing environmental strain, while at the same time increasing the perceived value of wild spaces. Africa's best private safari concessions. A holiday in one of the private safari concessions in Africa is bound to be one of the most exquisite and memorable holidays you've ever had. If you are planning such a trip, these are some private concessions you should add to your vision board. Sabi Sand Game Reserve, South Africa. Tucked along the western border of the Kruger National Park, Sabi Sand is arguably Africa's best-known private concession. This area is synonymous with exceptional leopard sightings, often at arm's length and completely unhurried. The game here is well accustomed to vehicles, making for relaxed, intimate encounters, which are ideal for photographers and first-time safari-goers alike. Lodges like Ulusaba, Londolozi, and Singita Boulders sit on this exclusive piece of land, and all provide experiences that feel relaxed and incredibly personal. Vumbura Plains, Botswana. Located in the Okavango Delta, Vumbura is a concession leased from 5 villages that feels like several ecosystems stitched together. The lush floodplains meet open woodlands and dry savannas, drawing an impressive variety of wildlife, like lion, cheetah, elephant, and the elusive African wild dog. Run by conservation leaders, Wilderness Vumbura has ecological sensitivity and world-class comfort. The setting is cinematic, the experiences are selective, and the sense of being truly remote is unlike anything else. Mara North Conservancy, Kenya. Bordering the famous Maasai Mara National Reserve, the Mara North Conservancy gives guests a quieter, more authentic alternative to the heavily trafficked public areas. This private conservancy is community-owned and carefully managed to maintain its low guest footprint. The result is a safari rich in big cats, those iconic Mara landscapes, and traditional Maasai culture, all without the vehicle congestion. For photographers, it's a dream, and for conservation-minded travelers, it's a blueprint for responsible tourism in action. Malilangwe Wildlife Reserve, Zimbabwe. If you're looking for solitude without skimping on style, Malilangwe is where you'll find it. This private concession in southeastern Zimbabwe is managed by the Singita Group and anchored by Singita Pamushana Lodge, one of Africa's most exclusive safari properties. The reserve spans over 130,000 acres and is home to an impressive rhino population, sweeping sandstone ridges, and ancient baobabs. It's one of southern Africa's best-kept secrets, which is probably why this is the first time you're hearing about it. And it combines the area's rich biodiversity with luxury that feels effortless and unpretentious. Palmwag Concession, Namibia. For those drawn to landscapes that look and feel otherworldly, Palmwag in northwestern Namibia will give you something extraordinary. This rugged terrain is home to desert-adapted elephants, black rhinos, and surreal geological formations. Unlike the lush savannas of East or Southern Africa, Palmwag's appeal is its raw isolation and haunting beauty. Guided by groups like Save the Rhino Trust Namibia, visitors can track endangered species on foot and understand conservation efforts at the front line. A trip to any one of the private safari concessions in Africa will not be your conventional safari, but something far more profound. Book your private safari concession experience today with ATUC